meant to feel like a dream. You know, there's no reference point to what we're doing here to any other festival I've ever been to.
Hi, I'm Kunal and I moved back to Mumbai 3 years ago from LA to work in the music industry. My job has kept me almost exclusively here in Mumbai, other than the occasional trip to Goa, and I haven't really seen most of the country. So when I heard about a festival called Magnetic Fields, which is apparently held in a palace in a tiny village in Rajasthan called Alsisar, I knew my girlfriend Ashna and I had to check it out. Some of the world's best DJs and electronic artists are performing this year. And I personally can't think of a better way to explore the country that I now call home than through the thing which I love the most, which is music.
The campsite was buzzing with energy by the time we reached. People were already dressed up in their festival outfits, gearing up for 3 days of musical escapism that only live on-site festivals like Magnetic Fields can provide.
We've unpacked, we put out some lights, and we managed to have a couple of drinks of Jaeger, which we snuck in. The day was still young and there was plenty of time before the first performance of the festival. So I decided to check out the palace, which would host the all-night mayhem. This is the venue for Magnetic Fields Festival. It's called the Alsisar Mahal, and the story goes that it was built by the Thakur of Alsisar in the 17th century.
He was a nobleman in the royal court of Amer.
And it's hard to imagine only one family living here. This place is absolutely massive. The sleepy palace grew more vibrant as the sun set, with 3 of India's most exciting young acts, Nicholson, Fuzzy Logic and Don Putt, all impressing on the live stage.
When will you learn right from wrong? What is your anchor? How deep can you drown? You're only a creature swimming upstream. You're only a dreamer waking up from sleep, waking up from sleep, waking up from sleep, waking up from sleep.
The juxtaposition of the medieval architecture and cutting-edge music created an atmosphere best described in one word: surreal. As I later discovered, that was exactly what the festival's co-founders were aiming for.
It's meant to feel like a dream. You know, there's no reference point to what we're doing here to any other festival I've ever been to. But what we're trying to do is make a bubble, you know, a bubble away from the city, away from life, away from work, whatever it may be, you know, where you come and you let loose.
From the lawns, the music moved to the courtyard of the palace. The vibe grew more intense, with DJs like Palm Tracks keeping the party pulsing until well past sunrise. It's 7 in the morning right now. The party began, I think, 16 hours ago. And over there in the palace, you can still hear the thuds of house music continuing. So there's people in there still going strong, and I think they'll be there until 10 or 11 in the morning. But we're done. Good night.
Magnetic Fields is not a festival for early risers. With music thudding almost non-stop across the palace walls at night, people have to try and get as much sleep as they can in the relatively quiet morning hours. This was Ashna's first camping music festival, and she wasn't accustomed to the all-night dancing and lack of sleep. While she slept in the tent, I decided to explore the palace's immediate neighborhood, looking for the iconic Rajasthani al-fresco paintings that make this region famous.
So this is a house literally neighboring the palace. The walls touch, and as you can see, there's incredible intricate detail in the painting of the outside, but it seems to have fallen into disrepair. Still, it's incredibly beautiful and incredibly minute.
It was great to see then that Magnetic Fields was also trying to do its part to uphold a centuries-old tradition of public art.
So Shiloh, can you tell us a little bit about the painting behind us, what it is?
I started thinking about the idea of Leela as basically this kind of cosmic dance of creation that everybody participates in, everybody joins into the Leela, and therefore the world exists. And the word Leela has a lot of different kind of connotations to it. It has a little bit of magic in there as well, it has a little bit of Maya in there as well, and it feels like Magnetic Fields is a bit of a Leela, like everybody's coming and dancing. So essentially it's kind of inspired by that, and Leela is also something that's painted in the alfresco style traditionally across Rajasthan.
I was still curious to learn more about this tiny village and the people who call it home. Luckily, I was able to find a very able tour guide, the Prince of Alcisar himself.
The reason I thought of doing the music festival was because A, there is nowhere in the world that you can see music happening at this level in a palace, which is operational.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of music festivals in the world which have taken places in castles or chateaus or palaces,
Right.
but none of them are operational palaces.
Right, fully functioning at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly.
We had barely stepped foot outside the palace before the inevitable happened. Abhimanyu was surrounded for an impromptu town hall meeting.
इस बार का जो प्रोग्राम है ना, इसमें फाइनेंशियली भी गाँव वालों को काफ़ी वो हुआ है। पहले तो ये था कि रात को सोचते नहीं, अब ये बोलते 3 ही दिन का है क्या महीने।
एक हफ्ते का कर देते हैं।
अगली बार से 1 हफ्ते का कर दो।
Noted. The villagers say that you should do it for a week.
I'll be here for a week.
Not for 3 days.
While we sipped our evening chai, the prince told me what he thinks about the crowd that visits Magnetic Fields.
Have you ever had white butter?
No.
You never had white butter. मैं इनसे पूछ रहा हूँ आपने मक्खन खाया क्या कभी? So what happens is how that butter comes out. So there's a matka, like a pot. So they put a lot of milk in it. And then they have a, so usually you guys have a stirrer and you just put the machine in, all that. These guys, there's a lady who will do the bilona, and then, it's like keeps on going. And that's how the butter comes out. So I tell everybody, take the India's map and do the bilona, and whatever the butter comes out, comes from Magnetic Fields.
It was an ornate explanation befitting a prince. After my high tea with the Raja, it was time to head back inside the palace to meet one of my favorite musicians, who apparently had an existential crisis while on his way to the festival.
How would you describe it to someone who's never been here before?
I was having somewhat of an internal existential crisis when I was here, because first time to see this beautiful country but feel so sheltered from where I'm from. So I was like, what am I doing? I'm like this DJ producer getting paid way too much to play in this country that deals with such a harsh reality in a lot of ways. And then we're in this palace, like sitting on a throne. So it was a mind fuck, man. It was incredible.
The culture shock didn't stop Shigeru from killing it that night. His set had everything from contemplative music to outright bangers.
While Shigeru recovered from his culture shock, arguably the biggest act of the festival was in a more light-hearted mood. Earlier that morning, I'd heard a story from Ratatat, and it involved goats.
We got surrounded by goats. We went to the town yesterday, and there was like 12 goats that kind of surrounded us and started making us kind of nervous. Goats are like, they can kind of flip on you. So
Yeah.
They were just getting a little too close for comfort, and there was a lot more of them than there were of us. So
Thankfully, the goats that ambushed Ratatat didn't leave any lasting scars. The duo were their usual electrifying selves on the live stage. The shrill whine of the guitar piercing through the desert air with Ratatat's signature sound. As the festival came to an end, I realized that perhaps the hedonism had its purpose. Sure, there were the occasional partygoers who pushed themselves beyond their limits, but I found myself irrepressibly happy.
Takes me back to you.
I'm really glad that we decided to come here. I'm sorry for putting you in a tent, a freezing tent.
And if stars align, we will find.
I would never have come to this part of the country if it wasn't for this music festival, and I hope that I keep getting to experience India through music. So if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about coming to Magnetic Fields next year, I think you should definitely make it here, because I don't think there's anything like this anywhere else in the world.
And my nephew said, "Uncle, you better to stay in China." I said, "No. India is my hometown. I born in there. I will go back there."
You're on a hilltop. You're on a hilltop.